Are you also recording?
Yes. Okay, it's going live. Go ahead, Ragini.
Namaste and Swasti. Welcome to the North America Swastik Leadership Conference. I'm Ragini Sharma, an advocate based in Toronto, Canada. My co-MC today is Tejal Shah. She is the Joint General Secretary, VHPA, and convener, Hindu Mandir Executives Conference. Welcome to all our eminent speakers present today and those joining us online. We will begin with some peace invocations. I will first invite Tejal Shahji to give the invocation from the Hindu Dharma. Thank you, Tejalji, for 2-3 minutes, please.
Namaste, Hari Om. Hari Om. Gajananam Bhutganadhisevitam Kapit Jambu Falisaru Bhakshanam Umasutam Shoka Vinashakarakam Namami Vigneshwara Pad Pankajam. Om Dyo Shanti Antariksham Shanti Ruthavi Shanti Rapah Shanti Roshadaya Shanti Vanaspatayah Shanti Vishve Devaha Shanti Brahma Shanti Sarva Shanti Shanti Reva Shanti Sama Shanti Redhi. Om Swasti na Indro Vratashravaha Swasti na Pusha Vishwavedaha Swasti na Raksho Aristanemi Swasti no Brahaspatir Dadatu. Om Sarvesham Swastir Bhavatu Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavatu Sarvesham Shantir Bhavatu Sarvesham Purnam Bhavatu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Pranam.
Pranam. Thank you, Tejalji. That was beautiful. I'd like to now invite Venerable Dr. Dhammadipa Sak, President of US Zen Institute, and he was a visiting lecturer at the University of Chicago Divinity School. Swasti, please go ahead.
Well, thank you. It's grateful to have opportunity given a present for this important conference arranged by the North American Swasti Leadership. I would chant a Pali text that is called Atta Visati Parita, usually translates safeguard through the 28 Buddhas. So, Tang hang karo mahaviro me tang karo mahayaso sararang karo lokahito di bang karo jundintaro Kondaññiya janapamokho mangalo burisa sabho sumano thiro revato rativattano Sobito guna sampanno anumodasi januttamo patumo loka pacho do narado varasarati batumuttaro sattasaro sumetto akkabukalo sujato sappalo kakko Yatasi Narasapo Attadasi Karuniko Dhammadasi Dhamunuto Sittato Asamoloke Tiso Varada Sang Varabutso Varada Sambuddho Vibhasija Anupamo Sukhi Sappahito Sattha Vesapu Sukhadayako Gakusando Sattvaho Konagamano Ralanjaho Katsapo Siri Sampanno Kodamo Sakkabungavote Sangsatchena Sinena Kandimetta Barena Cha Debi Twang Anurakkantu Arogena Sukhena Jadi Attavissati te buddha buretva tatsabarami cetva marani sangamang buddhatang sang upagamung etena satchevachena hodute jayamanganang. With these 28 Buddhas virtue, having fulfilled perfection, defeat the host of the evil ones, the attain enlightenment, by the might of this truth, may joyous victory be yours. And it's really a good blessing that people having this conference for the sake of the very holy, simple. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, Venerable Sak. That was so beautiful. We are blessed to have you here. And I'd like to now invite Naresh Jainji to do the invocation from the Jain tradition. Naresh Jainji is Emeritus Trustee of the Parliament of the World's Religions, co-founder of the International Jain Sangh, as well as director in the Federation of Jain Associations in North America. Welcome, Naresh Jainji. Please go ahead.
Namaste, Jai Jinendra. Swastika is the primary holy symbol among Jains. It's found everywhere, including home decorations, business counters, religious flags, and offerings. The 4 arms of swastika signify that during the cycle of birth and death, we may be born into 4 worldly states: heavenly, human, trianch or animal, plants and microbes, and hellish beings. Our aim should be liberation and not rebirth. Namokar mantra is the core Jain prayer. It is inclusive and not specific to a specific person. It seeks liberation from the good qualities of gods, teachers, and saints. Emulating them can put us on the path of liberation. Namo Arihantanam, Namo Siddhanam, Namo Ayaryanam, Namo Vajjayanam, Namo Loe Savyasaunam, Eso Panchanamokaro, Savva Papanasano, Mangalanancha Savvesing, Paramam Havai Mangalam. I bow and seek inspiration from perfected souls, liberated souls, religious leaders, religious teachers, and all ascetics in this world. Offering these benedictions is the most auspicious of all, and they erase all sins. The universal blessing prayer or sutra seeks blessings for all living beings in these 4 worldly states signified by the 4 arms of swastika. Shiva mastu sarva jagtaha parhit nirta bhutagnaha doshaha paryantu nasham sarvatra sukhi bhavantu lokaha. May the whole universe be blessed. May all living beings be engaged in the welfare of each other. May all weaknesses and faults diminish, and may everybody everywhere be happy, healthy, peaceful, and blissful. Thank you.
Thank you, Nareshji. That was so beautiful. Indeed, Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. We'll now move on to our speakers. We'll have 3 Hindu speakers. They will have 7 minutes each. to make their presentation. I'll now invite Pujya Swami Sarveshananda Saraswati Ji from Chinmaya Mission, Dallas. He was a disciple of bestowed sannyasa, Diksha, by Pujya Guruji Swami Tejal in 2011. Swamiji is also the National Director of Chinmaya Mission Yuva Kendra West, the youth wing of Chinmaya Mission West. Welcome, Swamiji. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Hari Om, pranams. This is a very beautiful effort. Thanks to the Kohana organizers, and my salutations to all the distinguished dignitaries from different cultures from different parts of the world. This is a great effort to bring this awareness. Swasti is the root word of swastika, which means the symbol swastika. The root word swasti means auspiciousness and well-being. May there be well-being is the meaning of this word swastika. During the World War, Hitler and its Nazi movement, when he wrote Mein Kampf, he did not utter this word, he did not know this word. It was not this symbol which he found his inspiration in, or his movement's cause in that symbol. It was the Hakenkreuz, which he mentions in Mein Kampf. But when it was translated, you could call this as a misappropriation, probably even to distance this as far away a culture as possible from the Christian hooked cross, because such a huge massacre, genocide that happened, it would be directly linked to this hooked cross, and translating it as hooked cross would bring in a political turmoil, and to avoid it, probably they had to distance it as far away as possible. And very recently there is this amazing book on the disclosed files which were kept under wraps, which just got released, and there is a good research and a book called the Hitler's Pope, that the Pope was in support, and they wanted to distance it as far as possible. Now, what happens with this particular misappropriation of the word swastika as a translation is those who have genuinely practiced this symbol as the very representation of our Hindu culture, of our Sanatana Dharma, where we have it on the thresholds of our households. Whenever we get into a new house and a housewarming, Graha Pravesha is done, we have the symbols of the swastika, Om, and the Kalash on the houses. We have the mantras in the Vedic chants. I was so happy to hear that this session began with those Vedic chants. We also have the swasti as an integral part of the yogasanas. We have this swasti and swastika used as the symbol in the Vedic altar, where the yaga, yajna, and homa, havana were performed. The symbol becomes a very integral part of our Hindu way of life. And this, if at all it means anything, is only auspiciousness. It invokes auspiciousness. It bestows auspiciousness on everyone irrespective of whether you believe, whether you want to follow or not. It is that universal prayer where just by mentioning and offering the swasti, it means that may that individual, whoever they may be, whatever their belief may be, may they be finding auspiciousness and well-being in their life. Now, such a sacred, such a peaceful, such a beautiful meaning has been corrupted, has been misused, misappropriated and misused for a very ghastly act that the entire humanity can never ever forget. So the effect of this particular use of translation of Hakan Cruz into swastika, it takes away, it snatches away the very auspiciousness that it represents. The Hakan Cruz, as used by the Hitler's movement, the Nazis, it should be called for what it is rather than what it is not, and what the sanctity it carries to be belittled and to be drained down to be representing a ghastly act. This particular forum, which brings this idea to the masses for their awareness that one, it is not just a Hindu symbol, but the Buddhist, the Jain, the Zhen, and various other cultures have this particular symbol, and it has been an eternal symbol that has been used, that cannot be reduced to a mere misappropriated translation to represent a ghastly act. So the entire sanctity has to be reinstated, and the awareness as to why, how, and who misappropriated it go back to history, because reading the history and knowing this history is the only way to find a good stance, a firm stance in the present, so that we can build a better future, a more comprehensive future. Understanding this is the necessity, and I'm sure we'll be enlightened by many from different backgrounds this particular idea to grasp, understand, and have that clarity as we move forward. Thank you again for Kohana for organizing this. We much appreciate this enlightening event where all of us from different cultures have come here on this forum to share our ideas. Thank you. Hari Om. Pranams.
Hari Om, Pranam. Thank you, Swamiji, for your beautiful presentation. We have been informed. And now I'd like to invite Pujya Swamini Svatmavidyananda Saraswati ji. She is the Acharya of Arsha Vijnana Gurukulam. She is widely recognized as a scholar of Advaita Vedanta and is a disciple of late Pujya Swami Dayananda Saraswati ji, an internationally known Acharya of the Advaita Vedanta tradition, an interfaith leader and scholastic author of Vedanta. Welcome, Swamini. Please go ahead. You have 7 minutes.
Thank you, Ragini ji. Thank you for the organizers for having this wonderful and extremely timely meet. They say that serendipity is another name for Bhagavan, and this the organizing of this conference at this time makes this very, very, very clear. The Swamiji that went before me, Swami Sarveshananda ji, gave a very wonderful introduction as to the meaning and the purport of this swastika. To this, I would like to add that we see it as a pratika in the tradition. A pratika is a sign as opposed to Omkara, which is a sound symbol. This symbol is a written symbol. The well-being is in that sacred geometry that is contained in the symbol itself. Whereas the blessing that is derived from the Om is in the Ucharana, in the enunciation of it, the blessing is there. Whereas here in the sight of it, the blessing is there. That is why it is so important to reclaim this, because it's not something, you can say Swasti, but beholding that symbol itself there is some kind of a sacred energetic. There is a certain kind of a digbandhana, the way it is written, and it involves all the directions. It involves the one who is in the center, the oneself, and it's a unifying symbol of wellness. And this is something which is very, very crucial to reclaim. I have been, as Ragini ji said, I have been involved in some interfaith meetings and affairs. And one of the initiatives done by my late Guru, Swami Dayananda ji, was the Hindu-Jewish dialogue, where we went to Israel, and the rabbis came over to India as well. So we had 2 or 3 meetings with the rabbis. And here is where one of the things that was brought up was the redemption, the freeing of the swastika, so we can use it freely in the international realm. In India, it is still used, very much used, but then we are talking about using it in the international realm without being apologetic and without trying to erase it completely and thereby erase the culture and all the blessing that it brings, not only for us but for anybody who beholds this sacred symbol. And being in dialogue with the at that time the chief rabbis, whoever were there, and other scholarly religious leaders in Israel, it gave me an idea of how deep the emotional hurts that this has wreaked, how much it has wreaked, the misappropriation of this symbol, this sacred symbol, how deep the hurts it has evoked. Meaning that even though intellectually and rationally people do understand the meaning of this swasti, and even the Jewish leaders understood the meaning and understood how important it is for it to be liberated so that we could use it. We of many different traditions could use it. It was still difficult. I could see the pain, I could see that block there. And even though rationally we know all about the hooked cross and all these things. And what I'm interested in, I'm very excited about this conference, because how to remove that block, not only among our Jewish friends, but also among people who have this wrong idea, as it has been seen recently in all these legal issues in California with this initiative to ban this as a hate symbol. How do we get over that, and how to engage with people of like minds, and how to engage with people to educate on different areas, and how to spread and disseminate this message of this being a benign and in fact a blessing symbol that everybody would like to have in one's life. And that is something, that is a conversation that I would like to further And in whatever way I can help to engender this conversation, or whatever activities that I can help, I'm very much there with everybody. And this is basically what I wanted to say, is that when we work together, there is a lot of energy behind, because it can become a movement rather than just the one person or one organization doing this by oneself. It is like the redwood tree. The redwood tree is able to stand tall, not because it has deep roots, but because the roots hold on to the roots of other trees. So this way, my prayer and my wish for this conference is so that we hold on to one another and derive strength and stand tall, and once and for all work together to rid all the misconceptions around this most benevolent and sacred symbol, and liberate it for the use of humanity. Thank you very much. Om Tat Sat.
Thank you. Thank you, Swamini ji, for your beautiful words. You spoke from your heart, and you talked about the sacred geometry of the swastika sign. And you reminded us to be sensitive to the feelings and of the Jewish community. Your presence is beautiful. We appreciate your being here. We'll move on to a recorded presentation on Swami Sarvapriyananda ji. He's a monk of the Ramakrishna Order of India, serving currently as the minister in charge of the Vedanta Society of New York. Prior to New York, Swamiji was at the Vedanta Society Centers in California. We appreciate his video message. Thank you.
Dear friends, I would like to tell you about the importance of the swastika as a religious symbol to Hindus and also to other members of other religions which have originated in the Indian subcontinent. For Hinduism, the swastika is one of the most well-known, beloved, and most ancient symbols in use. It goes all the way back to the Vedas, where the word swasti comes in many mantras. Swasti means welfare, auspiciousness, holiness, good luck. So swasti astu, may you have good luck, may good fortune attend to you, is a well-known blessing, most ancient blessing we find in India. The symbol, the swastika symbol itself, is used widely across Hinduism. In Hindu festivals, for example, it is used in Holi, it is used in Diwali, it's used in the Durga-Poojya. Hindu temples and homes often have swastikas prominently displayed there. It is used on auspicious occasions. I know that it is used in marriages, it is used by merchants when they inaugurate their business as an invocation for good luck. So it also stands for prosperity. Not only in Hinduism, where its use dates back to nearly 5,000 years, but also the other Indic religions. The swastika is a very important symbol in Buddhism. In Jainism, the swastika is found in Jain temples, in Jain sacred books. So the swastika's use is widespread across Indian religion and Indian culture. We do understand that the swastika is not just Indian. It's found in various religions from the most ancient times. And here in North America, it is part of the culture of the indigenous people. This is something that I found in my recent reading on the subject. Now, there is this other side to it. The swastika has been associated with the worst excesses of the 20th century, the atrocities committed by the Nazis. It's because in one of the, among the many crimes that Hitler committed, one was a terrible crime of cultural appropriation, where he used shape similar to the swastika as a symbol of Nazism. And it's associated with anti-Semitism and the Holocaust and the wholesale murder of 6 million Jews. So we understand the evil connotations that this a similar symbol, which is actually the Haken cross, the crooked cross, which has become associated with the excesses of the 20th century, the evils committed by the Nazis, by Hitler. Here, I would like to point out that we stand against all forms of anti-Semitism. We stand with the Jewish community against all the atrocities committed against them, all the anti-Semitism that is directed against them. India, from the most ancient times, has had a Jewish community, and they have never been persecuted in India. I remember a few years ago at the Indian consulate here in New York, there was a joint celebration of Diwali and Hanukkah. And the Israeli consul general said that he meets people from the Jewish diaspora across the world, and they have sorry tales of persecution to share with him, except one country. He said the Indian Jewish diaspora always has been all praise for their experience in India. Swami Vivekananda, who came as a representative of Hinduism to the World Parliament of Religions in 1893 in Chicago, he started his famous speech on the 11th of September in Chicago, 1893, by talking about the Jewish experience in India. He said that we are proud to belong to a religion which has sheltered in our midst the remnants of the Israelites who escaped from Roman tyranny when their temple was destroyed by Roman tyranny. And for all these centuries, across millennia, the small but prosperous Jewish community has flourished in India. So we stand strongly against anti-Semitism, but we would plead for sensitivity to the 2 billion strong dharmic community of Hindus and Buddhists and Jains and Sikhs who use the swastika as one of their most beloved sacred symbols. On this important occasion of the Swastika Awareness Conference, I congratulate the Reverend Dr. T.K. Nakagaki, Sri Gokul Kunat, and other members of the Swastika Awareness Committee for organizing this important event. I hope this issue will gain prominence and justice will be done. Om Swasti, Om Swasti, Om Swasti. Thank you.
Thank you. That was a beautiful message from Swamiji to explain the deeper significance of swastika in daily Hindu life, and how Hindus have always stood by the Jewish community. Now we'll be moving on to a series of presentations by our honored guests from the Buddhist Dharma. I would like to first invite Venerable Bhante Kondaññiya. He's a Buddhist monk from Sri Lanka. He received his novice ordination in 1968, his monastic training in Colombo. He has a BA in Buddhist philosophy from the University of Kondaññiya, also in Sri Lanka. In 1985, he came to the US to provide his services at the New York Buddhist Vihara. Welcome. Please continue. You have 7 minutes.
I wonder, are you going to have some question and answer before?
Yeah, there's
Okay. Sure.
And
Sorry,
then
I'm
Bhante
sorry.
is on his way, and he's
Okay.
driving
Sorry
right now.
about that.
So
Yes.
no. So he's driving right now. So hope
Okay.
he'll
So
be
in. Please go ahead, Nikunj.
yeah, there is a
Go ahead
question
with the-
on the Q&A
Yes.
saying that there are different types of swastika symbols in the Hindu tradition. How can we make sure that we can provide more education to the masses about these different types of symbols within the Hindu tradition. When we talked about Diwali and Holi and all that, so there are different symbols. So for our esteemed Hindu speakers, this is a question. Swamini ji, go ahead.
I thought perhaps Swamiji would like to say something.
No, please go ahead.
Thank you, Swamiji. I would also like to hear from you afterwards. The thing is, we have to work together on different fronts. One is at the level of organizations, and that we know how to do, but then equally important is education at the level of individuals. So sharing and explaining and understanding. And for that, I think some little bit of inner housekeeping is also involved, especially for those of us who are situated and teaching and in the West, because we have, in a way, internalized a little bit of that guilt, and we are afraid to display this symbol for the fear of hurting others. And so that is something that we have to resolve. And this doesn't have to be done in an aggressive way, I don't think. I think it is more of a acceptance and a softness that we bring to this dialogue. And we wear it with, we wear this symbol with dignity, not so much as pride, but with dignity and humility. And I think that somehow when we are comfortable in our own shoes, it helps others to also perhaps look at this slightly differently. Swamiji?
Thank you. That was beautiful. Along with the dignity that Mataji was saying, I think to be unapologetic and to never be defensive in using this swastika. And for that, I go back to the same point that Swamini Amma was mentioning, is to understand something, we need clarity. Clarity brings in conviction, and that conviction brings in the dignity with which we carry it. Therefore, the best way is to educate oneself within, as well as to educate others that there is definitely a cultural misappropriation that was done during the translation. With what I have studied and what I have looked into, nowhere in Mein Kampf that particular word swastika ever occurs. It only occurs in the translation of it. So it was either a wrong translation or a misappropriated, calculated translation. Whatever it may be, it has been associated with these other cultures as far away. So that part of education has to be given, and both inside and outside. And we can humbly plea to the group of people that have been devastated with that particular symbol and what it represents as used by Hitler. And probably we could also stake a claim saying that it was only in the Indian Bharatvarsha, the Indian territory, where the refugees that had come in from those lands were never tormented, were given the most beautiful acceptance. And that is the key, that tolerance may or may not build bridges, but acceptance with humility definitely builds bridges. And all of this is possible only through the act of educating oneself and educating with others. And aggressiveness comes only when there is impatience. And impatience usually is a sign of lack of understanding. So tying it back again, education, clarity, conviction, and with dignity, both inside and outside, is the only way to build that acceptance, which builds bridges between communities, cultures, and we can proudly claim the universal brotherhood amongst all the different cultures that are practicing different faiths. I think I'll pause there.
Wonderfully put. So a question for both of you now. Both of you are part of eminent institutions that have done so much work for the community. And as Pujya Swamini ji mentioned, Pujya Swami Dayanand Saraswati ji was, when he was here, he had initiated the Hindu-Jewish Summit and Dialogue. What can both of the institutions do to further those dialogues? Because that was many years ago. So now it's time to have maybe another dialogue, and with new understanding and new information that has come to the fore. So your thoughts on what can we do now, and both of your institutions can contribute to that, just like that other temples, etc. What should they be doing?
Swamiji, I'd like you to
Let
go
us specifically with what Dayanandji has done, so you can actually answer it first, then I'll follow it up.
You see, the first initiative was in the early 2000, 2006, 7, like that. And it was a lot of work, and very rewarding work. But Trivedi-ji is absolutely correct, because these kinds of things need engagement. They need engagement, frequent engagement. And also, if we look at the Israel right now, lots of things have changed. Many things have changed, including the leadership. And what kind of people that we are appealing to. Because one of the things that was raised in this series of conferences was that the rabbis were asking all of us, that this is a, excuse me, I'm in a conference, I can't talk right now. This was talked about by the rabbis. The rabbis said that why are all our people going to you? This is what was asked. Our youth. Why are they, in other words, becoming Hindus? They are all attracted to the Hindu philosophies. Why are they doing that? And we said, I was one of the delegates there, and we all said, the answer to that is best known to you. We cannot comment on that. And so why are the youth interested in Buddhism and interested in Hinduism? And what is it that you have that is attracting them? And we said, you know the youth and you know your culture the best. But one thing is there, one thing we can say is that we have to change with the times and make it more, make whatever we are teaching much more pertinent and inclusive. And perhaps that is what the youth find liberating in the Buddhist tradition and in the Hindu tradition. And so, that made me think now, in the context of this conversation, that we can make a headway, perhaps if we engage the youth of these communities to take this conversation further, because after all, they are the leaders of the future. And any kind of a renaissance there and a transformation there, this is why it is very useful and helpful to engage the youth. Swamiji.
I think along with the youth, it is, I look at it as a multi-pronged approach where there is the past, present, and the future. When I say past, present, future, it is the adults, then the present is the youth, and the children who are the future. All these three forefronts have to be educated. A dialogue must be encouraged, and unabashedly teach and let them know, let them have the awareness of what is the purpose, what is the meaning, and how one needs to, with dignity, stand up for what belongs to or what represents our tradition. Now, for this dialogue to happen, I think at a national level, here in the American context, we can organize these seminars where we can have a dialogue with the Jewish counterparts, the rabbis, and we have to be able to communicate as well as listen to each other. And we could probably even invite the local chapters of several Jewish community into the Hindu temples or the ashrams that we have, where we can continue this dialogue so that they can understand our pain when our swastika has been misrepresented, mistranslated, and surely they would understand and appreciate, because who else can better understand the pain of something that we are going through, of those that they themselves have faced as a community. So when this dialogue is ensued, we can make sure that all three generations need to be educated. Because lack of it, what happens is, when we keep focusing on the children and the youth, the older generation, which is not in sync, kind of, in today's words, it gets cancelled within the house. So the empowerment doesn't happen as a community. So when all three generations get to hear, get to understand, get to educate, and have this dialogue with the counterparts at a national level as well as at a local level, I think the bridges can be built and an understanding can be resolved as quickly as possible. Nikunj-bhai?
Thank you. I wanted to just thank you both for today's attending today and for the enlightening insights, and really appreciate all the insightful the answers to the questions. Namaskar.
Namaskar. Hari Om.
Hari Om. Ragini ji? Ragini ji, are you there?
She's coming in now.
Yeah, it looks like there was some technical issue.
Mm-hmm. And then I'm waiting for the Bhante Kondaññiya to come, but we're talking, so he should be coming in. But then maybe let the Venerable Guan start first.
Yes. Give me 1 second.
Hi, good morning.
Okay, you're gonna start. Maybe sorry, but I guess yeah.
We lost the MC.
MC
technical difficulty. Yes.
Thank you so much. Yeah. First of all, thank you so much for inviting me to this meeting. And as I can see, and I've been listening to all the lectures, give the presentation, it was really, it's still really important topic to talk about, even we know that culturally different from East and West with the symbol of Dhammadipa. And today what I'm trying to share with you is what does Dhammadipa looks in the Eastern culture, and how historically and how culturally that could be understood differently. Can anyone or host enable me to share screens?
Yes, 1 second.
All right, thank you.
Just bear with me.
All right, take your time.
Okay, please go ahead now.
All right, let me see. Oh, now it works. Okay. All right, give me a second. So as we know, Samadhika, the symbol in particularly in Buddhism, I know that the symbol was used in Hinduism and other religions as well, but I would like to present particularly from Buddhist perspective of the symbol Samadhika. So originally the symbol was came from Indian into China, or either probably in the Central Asia into China. So the symbol was first present in two forms. One is written in left side and the other is on right side formulas. But it around the late 7th century, the symbol was basically officially written as a turned into the left side. That was officially given order by Empire Yi Wu Zetian during the 7th century. And here we should see that in Buddhism, the symbol of Samadhika has, from the religion perspective, it has the meaning of turning Dharma wheels and enlightenment. And that's why we see the symbols usually we present with the Dharma wheel, and under that it's a lotus flower, which means the purity and for the enlightenment. And this symbol for religion's purpose or religion's practice purpose, it's also used in Buddhism for statues, for Buddha statues. So the picture I present here is from Wuxi Linshan Mountain, we call Holy Mountain in Wuxi Po, Jiangsu Province, Wuxi City. So as we can see, the Buddha Sakyamuni statue standing here, we really can see the symbol Sawadika with left writing presented in this statue on the chest. And also we see the symbol was on the other statue in Hong Kong, Tiantan, Baolianshi Tiantan, Dahuo, we call platform for heaven in Baolian Monastery in Hong Kong. So we see the symbol was also presented and was basically presented in these statues, the same location on the chest. So in Buddhism, we know the symbol of Samadhika was using or was presenting as a symbol turning Dharma wheel and enlightening. So through the Chinese history, we know Buddhism has a wide influence not only to the common people's life or mass life, but also it deeply or strongly influenced the royal families as well. So here, the picture I present to you is a symbol for auspiciousness, peace, harmony, and unity. And it will demonstrate in buildings, which was built in 18th centuries earlier. And in the royal family's palace, we call the old summer palace, or Yanminyan. So this building was was built in 18th centuries and present as one Fang Anhe. It means peace and harmony to all directions in the country, and as a symbol of unity for the whole country to be. Then we also see before World War II in China, there's a rock cross group. They use the symbol of Samadika instead of the cross. So that was before World War II. And so we can see the symbol of Samadika from Chinese Buddhist perspective. It was used as a turning Dharma wheel for enlightening. Also the presentation of the Buddha's enlightenment. And for the common people or society to use the symbol as pieces, peace, harmony, and unity. And this also was used by Red Cross group as a symbol to serve, or the symbol of good before World War II. And then what we see changes is that after World War II, Red Cross changed that symbol of Samadika into Red Cross. So that was the effects and aftermath of the World War II. People look at this symbol as evil or as something that relate to Holocaust. 6 million people or 6 million Jewish were killed, murdered during the World War II. So historically speaking, in East, after World War II, it was also affected. People look at this symbol has a negative meaning, as well as Western people understanding the symbol. But culturally speaking, people in East, for example, China or either Taiwan, Hong Kong, still look at this symbol as a symbol as peacefulness and also peace, harmony, and unity in a way. From religion perspectives, I do believe today the symbol has come into quite conflict if we look at cultures from East and West. In the East, we understand this symbol present as pieces, as a symbol of peace, harmony, and unity. But after World War II, it suddenly turning into the symbol, turning into temptation, or we call evil or killing. And we also see in Asian, the symbol from the Buddhist perspective, it's a liberation and good, a virtue. So what I see is that today this symbol become temptation and evil versus liberation and good that could be people struggle with. But if you look at the religion's practice purpose, I would say originally even in Christian, they do have the symbol quite close to Sawadika, but probably they present in a different way or use different names. And I would like to end with Matthew chapter 6, verse 13. There was a famous Lord's Prayer. It says, "Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil." And in Buddhism, we know it is a virtue for liberation, particularly from Kamochawa's translation. So I hope in the future, after this after the presentation and after everyone's effort to present the true meaning of the Sawadika, people would understand that this symbol is a symbol of good, a symbol of liberation, and a symbol of that one leading us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Guan Zhen, for your beautiful presentation. Thank you very much. We'll move on. And apologies for disappearing for a few minutes. I had a crash in my phone. We'll move on to our next Buddhist speaker, Venerable Bhante Kondaññiya. He's a Buddhist monk from Sri Lanka. He received his ordination in 1968. His monastic training is in Colombo, and he has a BA in Buddhist philosophy from Sri Lanka as well. In 1985, he came to the US to provide his services at the New York Buddhist Vihara. Welcome, Swasti. Please go ahead. You have 7 minutes. You're on mute. Could you kindly unmute yourself? Please unmute yourself.
Yes,
Thank you.
yes, I'm fine now. Yes, I had difficulty doing that.
No problem.
Good morning, to all
Yeah.
of,
Namaste.
good morning to all of you. Very happy to say a few words about Swastika presentation conference. Venerable Dr. Nakagaki made a real good effort for a long time to bring the awareness of this
we can't hear you. Can you check your mute button again?
unmute.
There you are. We can hear
Okay.
you now. Continue,
Yes.
please.
Yes. So for a long time, we appreciate his effort, and to his effort is to bring the awareness, improve the awareness of this swastika symbol. And in Buddhist practice, we know even in a Northern Buddhist and Southern Buddhist, they still have slight differences. Geographically, there are, vast area. So there are differences on this, using this symbol. In Southern Buddhist or Theravada Buddhist countries, this symbol, as very auspicious, used as an auspicious symbol. They do not much use it, but what they see, that is a symbol of, in the Buddhas, when we study about Buddhist art, we always speak about, there are 32 auspicious symbols on Buddha's body. So especially on palm and in his soul, there are these symbols. So one of them is this, like Dharma Chakra and Swastika and many others, 32 of them, special marks. Out of these, this is very important thing. But this sign, this symbol is used in ancient, where we find it in ancient Sri Lanka, in our ancient kingdom, what we call as Anuradhapura. And during that time, they always used this. They used this as a symbol of good health, peace, and happiness and success. In that sense, they mostly used it in, we have found some coins, as well as they have used this symbol in front of the hospitals. Swasti is good health, well-being, happiness, or peace. So with that intention, I believe they used it in front of the hospitals at that ancient time. So something which is bringing happiness, bringing peace to the people. In a very ancient time, with the blessings of the spiritual blessings, because I believe it's not like a complicated era in that 1st century BC area. So it is, Sri Lanka was introduced to Buddhism in 3rd century BC. So from that 200-year period, so they have been using this, Sri Lanka, Buddhism came from India, of course, with all these cultural items, especially the Dharma. With the Dharma, whatever they had in India at that time, Emperor Ashoka sent it. So with that in presentation, with that in introduction, so people of Sri Lanka start using, start flourishing from the culturally and from the Dharma of Buddha's teaching. So I believe with that influence, so we very early days, if we were using this, that meant a lot for the people in the country. So therefore, I believe it's not what this Western world have the idea that they were using with. It's for the blessing, it's for the happiness, it's for the, bring peace. People were very happily using it. We do not have the differences that we, in the Buddha statues in Sri Lanka, we do not see it in the chest like what we see in the Chinese Buddha statue or the in the Northern school of Buddhism. We always see that. Of course, we see they used to say that in the palm they used to have this sign of swastika. However, it's basically important thing is for if we can bring this into the awareness of the people in the West, so that would be, I think would be very helpful. That would not create any evil thoughts or anger in the minds of our friends who are living here in the West. So therefore, whenever Dr. TK's effort is so greatly appreciated in that sense. So he is trying his best, and also we are, whatever we support, we could help him is also very important too. So I believe right now I do not have any proof or any presentations connected with this in form of slides or anything. But basic idea is I just wanted to share with you was in the history what we had and what meant it for the people of that nation, of that country. So therefore, with Buddhism never encouraged hatred, but it's always went with peace. So something to bring peace into their minds, they were using this. So I say thank you to all of you. May the blessings of the Buddha, Dhamma, and the Sangha be upon everybody who are participating here as well as around the world today. Because of these animosities and anger, people are suffering every corner of the world. May they heal with this, bringing into this awareness of people of this swastika, this concept of sati, good health, sati, peace, healing the mind, healing the body. So from that, may everybody be at peace. May they be well, happy, and peaceful. Thank you for giving me time to share what the thoughts that we have, what we use in the Buddhist tradition. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your beautiful presentation and peaceful presence. We will now move on to a question and answer period because it appears that Geshe Changto Rinpoche is not able to join us. So TKG, would you like to please take over the question and answer with our esteemed Buddhist speakers? Thank you.
Well, I wish I can, but I'm right now I'm in the middle of something. But then
okay, go ahead.
So I can do that. That's not a problem. Yes, I can do
yes.
that.
Okay,
that's not a problem.
Sorry, thank you.
Please
so
go
much.
ahead.
Yes.
Go ahead.
So the one question, as you had mentioned, Venerable Kondaññiya earlier, that how can the different Buddhist sanghas and community leaders and can come together to work on this issue together? It's already a start, but I think some education might be required.
maybe we all get together and, everybody's busy. So sometimes, even though I think I was aware of this conference too, but, still since last week I was busy, I could not, especially. So we have to make a special effort. So it depends on now, TK is the one who is working on this. So definitely when we call, we will set up our time and meet again somewhere, wherever we can, meet, either Zoom or at the locality where we are. So we will meet and we can discuss further.
Great. No, thank you so much. There's a large Chinese community in the United States. And of course, not everyone is Buddhist, but I think people appreciate Chinese culture. So Dr. Guan Zhen, how can we reach out to the Chinese community beyond the small group that we have today?
That's a good question. And I think, like I mentioned, that's a culturally different understanding or historically background understanding of the symbol Swastika. So to reach out Chinese community and to make them aware of this misusing of the symbols, or to advocate for the symbols meaning. If you're trying to reach out to advocate for the meaning of symbols from Buddhist perspectives, I think it would be a good way that we do so, to advocate the symbol Swastika. But if we're talking about this symbol as a symbol of temptation or evil after World War II, right? People look at it as a symbol of Holocaust, it's a symbol of murder. Then the way of understanding from Eastern culture or from Western culture, particularly for those people who were affected by this symbol in the European countries during World War II, probably not at the same level. If we look at the true reality, we understanding how this might have from generations PTSD or feelings of sadness, or look at this symbol as unforgivable, murder. But it isn't probably the culture we look at. We understand this Nazis misused it to kill innocent people, to murder those people who were innocent and did nothing wrong, but was because they are different race, right? So if we reached out to Chinese community to advocate for this symbol, I think first we had to educate them, or either we had to let them know how this symbol have affected today, especially to original their good culture, but because of World War II, it becomes a cultural symbol of the evil. That's why I think probably we should advocate in terms of education. That's why I look at it. Yeah.
Thank you very much for that. One last question would be: is in some of the I've seen in some of the libraries or tech, some of the resources in the Chinese culture, I have seen some mentions of this, as you had mentioned. Is there like some writing? Do you have some resources that people can go to find more information online? Right.
So regarding the symbol Swastika, its history, including in the past, the beginning of the symbol, introduced into China from Indian or either from Central Asia, to the modern times. Also, especially after World War II, I think there's a handful of articles has been published in the website. If you know Chinese, just typing in the symbol or Wanzi or the symbol Swastika, then it popped up. So the information I find it in my presentation are basically all of them are come from website. So that's why I find it. Yeah.
Thank you very much for joining. I will return it back to Ragini ji.
Oh, thank you. That was a wonderful discussion and knowledge on how to outreach into the Buddhist community for education. And now we'll move on to our next section, and I'll turn over to our MC, Tejal ji. Go ahead, Tejal. Thank you.
Namaskar, everyone. I'm Tejal Shah, Joint General Secretary of World Hindu Council of America, as well as convener for Hindu Mandir Conference. We are glad to be here working closely with Kohana on this very important issue. Thank you everyone for opportunity to talk to all of you. Now we are going to talk about the significance and the importance of swastika in the Jain Dharma. I would like to...
my apologies, Acharya Lokesh Muniji will not be able to make it due to some issue. So we can move to the next speaker.
I thought it's a recording, aren't we?
Yeah, it's not available, unfortunately, yeah.
Okay, sorry about that, everyone. We will move on to the significance and the importance of this very sacred symbol, whirling log, in the Native American community. Here we have a very distinguished and leaders of the North American, Native American community leaders, grandmother Mona Polaka.
She will also, unfortunately, sorry, Tejal, she's also having some technical difficulty. We'll move to grandmother Patricia Ann Davis.
Okay, grandmother Patricia Ann Davis is another leader of the Native American community. She is an elder of Choctaw and Navajo lineage. Currently, she is an International Council of First Nations, Commissioner of Ancient Knowledge and Languages as a speaker and a member. She is also an NGO representative of the World Yoga Community to United Nations. She is an international educator who is initiated, trained, and experienced in facilitating her authentic indigenous ceremonial change process she designed for the wellness of restoration. It is cross-cultural, intergenerational, inclusive, universal in practical application, and can be translated to any language. So I welcome grandmother Patricia Ann Davis, representing Native American community. Welcome, Swasti.
Thank you. Thank you for this invitation to participate in the deconstruction and the reframing of the authentic spiritual meaning of the swastika symbol from its derogatory use in history. I greet everyone with a warm heart-to-heart hug from my ceremonial fireplace to the hearth of your homes and the symbol of spiritual family love. Welcome all my relatives, my spiritual family. Ya'at-e abina shik-e chidane. And Ya'at-e, the greeting is all that is good, beautiful, and true is all I speak. We call ourselves Dene, and this is translated to people and holy people. Thus I affirm, I'm a precious child of the holy people. I'm born of the Mississippi Band of Choctaw for the authentic medicine clan people of the Ye'i Dene Kachitni. And you see the mandala behind me of the Antakarana, and we call that Nazi lid. And we also have that concept of the sacred self within. I am born of the Tachitni for Kia'ani, and the Kia'ani are authentic medicine plans of the Dene. We are all equally a precious child of Creator within the natural order of creation. Thus, we see that our esoteric language that you are hearing only speaks in an all-encompassing concept of oneness. And we call this Hojo. You can hear the peace and love. You can hear the beauty within and around. And thus we are using this symbol as a reminder of the creation story. The first part is everything created with a purpose in Dasya, and then everything created and placed in the four directions. In these four directions, there is a teaching place, Milya. That teaching is placed. So today we are united in our intention to bring the unifying principles of living the loving way as a way of life in our alignment with the oneness of the natural order, to eliminate the hatred in the world by the erroneous use of this spiritual symbol. Therefore, in this special conference, we are collaborating to seek a more truthful and peaceful world based upon mutual respect and mutual understanding with compassion, love, and wisdom, and the spirit of reverence for our sacred self within each of us and within our sacred place within the universe. And thus we affirm that each and every one of us are all equally within the one supreme sole purpose of serving in the world with this unique knowledge and wisdom and genius gifts to be peacemakers. And from the indigenous lens of the Ne, we are all born in the spiritual holiness and wholeness, and we are of the light within the light of the perfect peace and love of Creator. And this is a description of this swastika symbol. It's common, how it is commonly known. However, it is an ancient spiritual symbol, and we see it in the traditional Navajo rug weaving tradition long before the German Führer tyrant leader Adolf Hitler used this universal spiritual symbol as a white supremacy and Nazi symbol to justify the genocide of the Jewish people. His heinous hate and genocide campaign was carried out in the inverse thinking system, where people believe that they're born evil with a dark side and a shadow side. There is no concept of being born into a deficient self-image in our spiritual language, the Nepazad, the spiritual words of the holy people. And this inverse thinking system is characterized by choosing win-lose and nobody wins, destructive and death-producing decisions that result in these outcomes, which we're experiencing today at a global level, in a crisis level in the global world. And it manifests as what I call the empire folly. That's a conquest mentality, using power over with brute force and deception. There is no conscience, no compassion, no empathy, no reverence, no caring, only the intention to destroy with the pleasure of inflicting pain and suffering. To use the swastika symbol in the inverse thinking system is antithetical to the will to love and the will to good, where we all make decisions for goodwill to the greatest good, to serve in the world, to eliminate violence and to alleviate suffering. And this task was given to me by my late father when he said, undo the thinking that has caused our people so much violence and suffering. I am a survivor of the genocide in this country. It is vital, and it is important to understand why it is a symbol to the Navajo people, a sacred and spiritual symbol. It represents the procreative, life-affirming energy that we understand as sunwise and clockwise motion of time and seasons, the laws of nature that govern all humanity. This symbol is the whole galaxy in which we live between Mother Earth and Father Sky. We are aligned and we exist within our sacred self, in our sacred place within the universe. This is the affirmation. This is the affirmative thinking system of the American Indian. But we're not American and we're not Indian. We are the precious child of the holy people, the Ne. And we call ourselves Yin the Ne, Biyaja and Shla. Specifically the Navajo people, the Diné people, even Navajo is just a label. It is not, doesn't have any meaning to us. We live in balance and harmony within ourselves and with each other. And to devaluate and to dehumanize people is enemy creation. And I'm going to call it for what it is. It is sorcery. That is twisting something around to what it is antithetical to what it is not. Thus, in the sacred language and words of the holy people we call ourselves, these spiritual names, Diyin Nahok, the Ne, holy earth surface people, Bela Ashtlai, Bela Ashtlai, 5 fingers people conveying humane beings and a precious child of the Creator within creation simultaneously. Our language and our culture affirm that this is equally true of all people inclusively. And I love to tell people that our greeting, that it is impossible to say, there's no way to say, but not you. And so each of us is of the earth, water, fire, and air. We are existing simultaneously within the earth, water, fire, and air, and no one can be outside of or separate from it. Our body is the Mother Earth, our Holy Mother Earth, 72% water, and then fire is temperature, Nishbiyan is the air, and what you call Akash, the web of life, we call Ina. And also, it is the fundamental basis of equality that I'm speaking about, of here among all people, quote, white people, red people, yellow people, black people who are born in holiness and wholeness, in our sacred self-identity with power within to have power with each other. Thus, the term race, we use the term a jewel. We are each a jewel, white shell, turquoise, abalone shell, and obsidian and jet, respectively. Thus, collectively, we affirm that we are all related. Hojo nahasli, hojo nahasli, hojo nahasli, hojo nahasli. Thank you, my spiritual family and relatives.
Thank you so much, Grandmother Patricia Davies. I would like to invite Nikunj-ji to lead us in the question answer session with Patricia ji.
Great, thank you. So we have a couple of questions. One important question that is always there is, the Native American traditions have this as a sacred symbol. Not all, but many do. But one thing is, how do we spread more awareness? Because when we speak to some of the tribes and some of the traditions, they're not aware of this. And sometimes there is a pushback. So any thoughts on how we can ally with more Native American traditions to spread the awareness?
Let me first mention that there is a major obstacle in this country, the acculturation of people, including the indigenous people, which is to value the Eurocentric dualistic worldview. And that is also a conversion to the belief that we're born in a deficient self-image. And with those two obstacles, it is already challenging for indigenous original people of this land to even have a voice, to even not to be considered a conquered people. And therefore, it's important to describe and to illustrate and to define, as I did in my presentation, the exact simple way to convey that it is that we have demonized, and that we call it demonize is to undo it, to name what is out of balance, and then what the root cause is, identify that and deconstruct it. And so I'm grateful to be a part of this educational process as well, to be visible, to educate, especially from an indigenous worldview, language worldview, ceremonial language worldview, not the conversational language, but the sacred language, and bring that accordingly to the general public. Thank you.
Thank you for that wonderful explanation. I think sacred language and sacred words are very, very important. So really appreciate that. In the Navajo tradition, the rug weaving is very important. And I've seen some of the very beautiful rugs that are on display. One time there was a supermarket, a market, and some Navajo people were actually selling the rugs, but someone complained about that. So I think that was a very unfortunate situation. Have you encountered something like that when you are talking about the swastika and the indigenous symbol and the sacred art? Have you encountered such, and what have you done?
Yes, I understand what you're saying. And I grew up in the area, in Eastern Navajo Agency, near East Buzza, or in English called Crown Point, where they do have an annual rug auction. And remember that people are fear-based. And so fear-based means that certainly we have this wounded, transgenerational woundedness and trauma in which we fear for our very survival. And now we're dealing, so we feel this existential fear and futility, and we are feeling apocalyptic fear and fatalism. So 100% quote, reservation Indian. We have been put in prison camps and refugee and exile in our own country. And so to even use the word swastika to the Navajo people or any other people in the border towns surrounding Indian reservations, particularly our land base, holy land, homeland, is going to be open to having a sincere, honest dialogue, conversation. I call that leveling and truth-telling. And I'm certainly one person willing to do that, coming public here and using that word. But in my own private live audiences and travel, I have never openly used that word. I have only taught the spiritual meaning and of what I have described and defined and illustrated to you today, coming from the exact word and sound that I use. And that way I feel that I'm protected from personal assault. However, people are still angry and they're still revengeful and healing. There's no healing and blaming, and healing is for everyone. So that is how I consider myself happy to be a part of something that you have you all are participating in, and that you all have agreed to deconstruct and to restore the true meaning. So thank you for this question, and thank you for this precious time, for this treasure knowledge.
Thank you.
All these traditions.
Yes, and one final question for you. Actually, this is something that had come up in some of the research. In the 1940s, 4 tribes were forced to sign or issue a proclamation that had said that we will henceforth never use our sacred symbol because it has caused so much pain to a population in another land. And this proclamation, I believe, was one of the tribes that had signed it. It was the Navajos. Are you aware of that? And how do you feel 80 years later when we are having this conversation?
Wait, you must see this.
There was a slight spirit of hindrance.
I can repeat myself.
I'm aware of it. I heard of it. I was born in 1946, the year after the Second World War ended. And a reminder that I'm speaking from oral tradition passed from generation to generation. And that black ink on white paper that's not our language. It's not our words. And I don't know who they are. I would have to research myself. Who were these people? Surely were acculturated to the value system of Eurocentric and dualistic. And the word dualistic, it means to pit one against the other. And so I see that as perpetuating this Eurocentric dualistic concept of pitting one against the other, and for and against, right and wrong, good and bad, in the semantics of the English language. And possibly they were acculturated and converted people, which are no longer identifying with original indigenous language and culture. Does that make sense to you? Because the whole, we have been forced to, many people were forced. That's just the right, I mean, that's just the truth. They were forced to acculturate for your basic needs, even this foreign language of English here. We were in boarding school told, don't speak your language. Don't go to ceremony, don't eat your tribal food, don't self-negation. And then the military my mother was put in a dark room with bread and water until she was broken of speaking. It was a mild punishment compared to people. And so remember that the military was knocking on those same boarding school doors. Is there anybody that speaks their language? So the Comanche, the Choctaw, quote, the Navajo, the Diné people, and other tribes were recruited to, and our language is not a code. Our language is a spiritual language. I'll end there.
Indeed, and it's very painful to hear this. And this is exactly why these communities of dharmics and the indigenous traditions have come together, because we want to ensure that this type of misunderstanding does not happen with our people anymore. And we deserve to practice our sacred traditions just like everybody else. And we believe in the spirit of mutual understanding. And your example has clearly shown that there has been pain. We talk about one side of the issue where, a group of people were subject to genocide. But then there is a whole other side of people that have been subject to the cultural genocide and actual genocide as well. And they also deserve the fundamental human rights to practice their sacred traditions without being considered hateful. So really appreciate you sharing these thoughts.
Yes, just one more thing. That in my childhood, our ceremonial practices, our language, our culture was literally outlawed. And people were prohibited from ceremonies and put in jail, and all the sacred items, or sacred objects, items, not objects, were confiscated and were fined in my childhood. So I add that personal note.
Thank you. Tejalji, go ahead, please.
You're on mute, Tejal.
Thank you very much, Grandmother Patricia, for very insightful and wisdomful talk and a session on Native American traditions and its significance and correlation with swastika. I hand over to Ragini ji for one of the Buddhist speaker who was not here earlier. Now he's with us. Ragini ji, please go ahead.
Thank you, Tejal ji. We're fortunate that Geisha Chongtul Rinpoche has been able to join us. She is the founder of Bon Shengling, Tibet Bon Education Fund in New Jersey, USA. Bon Shengling is a place for Bon practice of compassion. Chongtul Rinpoche has been teaching Bon religion in North America for over a decade. Thank you and welcome. Please go ahead. You have 7 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Tashidele. So I am giving a little explanation about the Yungdung or swastika. I am belonging from the Tibetan Bon, which is the not Tibetan Buddhist. It is the non-Tibetan Buddhist. But in the world, it is very confused about the Bon and Buddhist. So Bon is the indigenous native religion of Tibet. It is started about 18,000 years ago. And it is the indigenous and it is the native religion of the Tibet. It is born in Tibet. And the founder is the Tambashenra. Buddha Tambashenra image is very similar of the Buddha. So Buddhist, why I'm saying Bon is very confused with the Buddhist. Buddhist is introduced from the Hindu from India to Tibet during the 7th century. Before 7th century in Tibet, there's no Buddhist. It was only the Bon practitioner and the Bon. So Bon, we have such a rich culture of the swastika. Now people call it swastika, but in the Tibetan, in the Yangjung language, Yangjung is the source of the Bon indigenous culture and the religion. So Yangjung nowadays in the geography where the town is now, many scholars and everyone saying it is the Afghanistan and the Tajikistan and the Uzbekistan. Those areas used to be Yangjung. So however, who is the founder of the Bon, Tambashenra, when you see in the Bon monasteries, it was very similar of the Buddha, but it is totally different. So when Bon Tambashenra, who is the founder of the Bon, came to world, he brought first off, when he landed into the Yangjung and this world, he came through the 9 different layers of the stretch. That is in the Tibetan we call the Yung Dung Gutsek. Yung Dung is the swastika, and the good segments is the 9 layers of the swastika. So when he came into the world, he came through the 9 layers of the swastika. And also when he announced his culture and his religious into the world, it called the Yung Drung Bon. So short way is the Bon, B-O-N, but full name is the Yung Drung Bon, Y-U-N-G-D-R-U-N-G. Yung Dung is the name of the swastika in the Tibetan. So Tompa Shenrab came into the world, layers of the 9 Yungdung, and also he teach and special 9 ways of the Bon. 9 ways of the Bon. It was translated into some collected from the teaching, and it was collected in the 1970s by the Dr. Snelgrove. That is the first in the modern language, introduced in the modern language from the British scholar. So Yungdung, or nowadays it is very difficult for us to using a swastika. In the modern language or the English language, we can say eternal truth. And the direction is totally different direction than which is the Nashi use. And in our system, Yungdung is the very powerful base of the foundation. Whenever you using our rituals, whenever you do meditation, supposed to be during the meditation, you have to sit on the imaging on the sitting on the sometimes in the lotus, but imaging on the Yungdung. So you have to sit on the Yungdung, and also into all the 7 chakras, turning into the eternal power, which is the Yungdung. So it is so deep into the Bon teaching and the Bon religious. We always, our symbol, like for my Bon Shin, you may see on the website, in the Bon Shin logo, which is the design of the Yungdung. But it is same idea now. It's all we are discussing about that. When I created this logo, it was not easy to build into this type of the Yungdung. So I made, our teaching is the design of the Yungdung, swastika, but also it is very deeply with the 5 elements. Mostly nowadays, modern people, they're talking, Bon is the very shamanic, and Bon is the native, and it is the shamanic. As a shamanic, part of the shamanic, we do have a lot of deep about the 5 elements. So 5 elements are within the colors. So I turn into the very hard into the world to showing a Yungdung or the swastika. I turn into the east swastika. Petal is like a white, and the green and the red and the blue, and the central is the yellow color. That is the idea of the main basic is the Yungdung, and the Yungdung hard to showing into the world. Then it is the time to show the Bon, because I'm belonging from the Bon and I'm belonging from the Yungdung. So I need to show in the different way people cannot really like objecting into the Yungdung. So, but in the energy way, I can show what is the energy of the Yungdung. So I put into the 4 different colors, and the central is the yellow. So it is. Yungdung is the very powerful, and also you may able to see in this picture, this is we are always into the Bon system. We always have a Yungdung. These are the Yungdung culture. And as you can see, all are in the different colors, but the design of the Yungdung in the counterclockwise. So that is we have a deep culture of the Yungdung. Whenever we build a temple should be layer design on the Yungdung. And on the top of the temple, it should be also very much energy holder of the Yungdung. So in the rituals, we have to ourselves turn into the Yungdung. It is very important, and it is very, very deep connected. But now everyone we are discussing about it is very difficult to just bring out. And even like yesterday, you can see on the news that all the Yungdungs are now showing and hidden for all these things. And we had also very difficult because in our system, we need to make a necklace of the Yungdung design. And one time our Geshe, our Rinpoche was crossing from India we live in India, and I grow in India. I study in our Tibetan monastery, Bon Monastery, which is the headquarters of the Bon. after 1959. We in the northern India, in the Shimla area. So when we bring our teaching into the Western, we brought a necklace of the Yungdung, and we stuck at the border of the European border. So they are talking so much, they are looking, and they are saying, now you are like bringing anarchists, all these things. So we had also that kind of the very much difficulties time, and all about that. So now I'm totally want to bring a wisdom of what is the ancient Yungdung for the spiritual and the human nature and the deep of the energy wise. It's not anarchy, but how we can explain that we have to do in the team and TK Nagani, he invited me, then I'm really appreciate for him and also everyone who joined here. We need to bring a wisdom of the Yungdung through the different cultures into the universe to understand of the world. Thank you. I think this is my time. Is there any questions?
Thank you. Thank you so much. Geshe, that was absolutely incredible that you have told us about the Yungdung and that your tradition is an indigenous tradition. And listening to grandmother, previous speaker, we can see the common bond that Sanatan Dharma and indigenous is the indigeneity and our common experience of colonial. So this is very enlightening. Thank you very much. I will turn back over to Tejal ji to continue with the rest of the program. Thank you.
Well, Nikunji can ask some questions if he wants.
Sure.
Sure. I think that Tibetan tradition has been, again, misunderstood, as you had mentioned with the Yungdung. Again, in New Jersey, there's a large, Hindu and Buddhist population, as well as yourself. How can we work together in New Jersey as well as in New York to bring more awareness of this, and then spread it more widely in California and other places?
Yeah, from my expect, the best way is, of course, we have to have many scholars and many university scholars, because university scholars and teachers are the source of the more modern and more children's and the more educated who wants to be education. So we need to give a wisdom for them. So from I'm asking for my scholars and my peoples that we need always conference, same like this. Many scholars, many who are interested on, not just, so who are interested on these people, we have to have a conference and to talk more, then also just get more professors and the teachers in the university, all in the public teachers, like yoga teachers and all our Rinpoches and all the many different teachers from the different religions. They all need sometimes in the teaching, we need to bring into the Jung topic. So then also within that, what is the more important? So then people knowing slow by slow, in new generation, if they understand well, then in the future, it will be more easy for us. That is the mostly main source. And in the ancient time, from the Japan, from the India, all the master, when they came to, they start like this way. They have been in the small community and giving a teaching and organizing a teaching is not easy. Worship is not easy, but they put all the energy. And same like this, now we are lucky in the Zoom, but at that time, not Zoom, but everyone's really broader, as you know, everybody knows. So this is I appreciate too. Always we need a conference and giving more details to the new generation peoples. I don't mean our generation is already gone. We are still alive. We are the supporter. We are the pillar. But also there are many new children and young generations growing. We need to catch them and hold them, support them, and giving a knowledge about not only the Yungdung, what is the really spiritual, and for the spiritual people, some people believe on the spiritual, some people not. But we are within the connected with the spiritual and our life. what is important into our life. Eating food and drinking water is easy, but energy we are losing. So energy need to be connected. So how we can bring this, I always tell it to young generation and having a lot of conference to explain them. That is my normally always explaining. Is that
Wonderful.
right?
Thank you so much. Yes, no, this is wonderful. I will hand it back to Tejal ji to continue moving forward.
Swasti. Now I welcome Dr. Astarte Sellars, who was born in Vancouver, British Columbia. Profession, she has a degree in dentistry. And so far we learned about the Zen, the Tibetan, Native American culture, how the swastika is related and very well merged into their culture, their traditions. And here we are going to talk about Dr. Astarte Dale's work with man, woman related to the Sufism. Welcome, Dr. Astarte.
Thank you so much for this invitation. I'm here as a representative of my husband's work. He was an artist and he devoted much of his life to educating people in the Western world about the sacred nature of the swastika. And there's a video, we put together a slideshow. So, but I don't know how to.
Yeah, I'm going to do that for you.
Oh, you're going to do that.
Yes.
Okay, great. So thank you. I just would like to say, I really appreciate the setting, the container for this conference with the sense, the sense of the unity and sacredness of all of creation, which the swastika represents. So thank you to all of the speakers that have gone before.
Okay, great. I'm going to share my screen and then play it. Give me 1 second.
His wife at the time was quite concerned how he was going to keep his job.
Yep, 1 second, sorry.
Just a sec. We're starting in the middle.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
There you go. Man-Woman was a
swastika pioneer in North America. He called himself a warrior of sacred imagination. Hello.
I guess that the sound on that slide didn't come through.
Yeah, that's okay. It'll come on. Let's try that.
Hello, everyone. I'm Astarte, and I've been invited to this conference to speak.
It will play. You can try again. It's okay.
Speak about my late husband's work with the swastika. For the more than 40 years, Man-Woman was committed to educating folks in the Western world about the benevolent and auspicious nature of the symbol. He was working under this 49 Ford when a voice told him to get out of there fast. Things went into slow motion, but he didn't hesitate, and the car crashed down, sending a spring into the earth right where his chest and heart had been a second before. He was grateful for that inner voice, which saved his life. It seemed to be divine intervention. Finally, he attends art school in Calgary, his deep desire. These years expanded his horizons on many levels. As cool beatnik art students, they avidly read the bohemian poets and authors of the time. On his own, he also delved deeply into contemporary spiritual philosophy. He attended Mass every morning before class, and evening benediction at least twice a week. He was torn between his Catholic ideals and the Zen beatnik outlook. His inner experiences created a split with the Church's demands. Art became his religion. Starting February 5th, 1965, he began having experiences which were ecstatically blissful as well as terrifying. He would soar up into celestial light amid thundering sound, a rushing clamor, to dissolve into the radiance. One might suspect this was drug-induced, but recreational drugs had not appeared on the scene at this time. A furious state of creativity was unleashed. He created over 100 canvases in 2 years. When he wasn't having transcendental visions, he was having intense dreams, their effects lasting days. He felt he was going mad, as did everyone else in his life. In a dream, he was charged by a shining elder to take the swastika and redeem it. This person traced a swastika on man-woman's throat. He was terribly distressed with this command, since he had Polish relatives who had been in Auschwitz and bore the tattoos on their arms. Slowly, he began to learn of the vast history of the swastika before the rise of the Third Reich and accepted the mission to do as his dream suggested. From budding artist to swastika evangelist, Man-Woman was a visionary artist who followed his dreams. These were his inner guidance, the light shining on the path of his life. So what's with the name Man-Woman? Man-Woman was not a cross-dresser nor transsexual. He deliberately adopted this name. Night after night for months, he dreamt he was both male and female, an embodiment of oneness. Sometimes his body was split down the middle, half man and half woman. The people in his dreams were calling him Man-Woman. He says, "I discovered that the real me is an asexual being of total oneness that lacks nothing." He found that he could no longer sign his paintings as Pat Kemble. His wife at the time was quite concerned how he was going to keep his job and feed their kids when he was going into a trance every 2 days. The rise of the counterculture in the late 60s gave Man-Woman a ready audience for his more mystical works and sayings. He still experienced stiff resistance to his swastika revival, though. This is the Edmonton girls hockey team of 1916. He wanted to feature more examples of the use of the swastika in North American culture in his collection. The swastika appeared in his art continuously over the years. He wanted to depict it in a non-threatening way. He continued to enlarge his collection, focusing on key historical pieces like this Coca-Cola watch fob. In the mid-90s, he became seriously ill for over 6 months with pancreatitis. He almost died on 2 separate occasions. When he pulled through and returned home, he vowed to complete his book on the swastika. These are later renditions depicting his visions and experiences of that early era. His style in these paintings is more modern and pop art influenced. Man-Woman died of cancer November 13, 2012. He had great courage to persevere in his commitments. He has inspired many young people to follow their own inner guidance. He is considered by some the grandfather of the Reclaim the Swastika movement.
Think of the most sacred thing in your life. Think of the most precious thing. And put the swastika in that place. Put the swastika into your heart. Put the swastika on your altar. Put the swastika on the image that you use to represent God, love, peace, the cosmos. Put the swastika on the thing that makes you happy. you will begin to see what the swastika has meant to humans over this entire planet for all of our human history. For these are the places exactly that it occupied for thousands of years until the Second World War, when it fell victim to a chronic infection. I say to hell with Hitler. He didn't invent the swastika. We're taking it back.
Thank you. Go ahead, please.
That's it. And that last slide was the cue for to ask if anybody had any questions.
Yeah. So the question comes to mind is, as someone had mentioned, in British Columbia, naturally speaking, this was a radical idea, right? And you have been with him for many years. Have you seen any changes in sort of locally when you start to talk about this or expose people to his work?
For myself, I still live in the town that he was born in, and it's very small, and he became quite notorious. So there has been some changes locally, and that kind of reflects what was said earlier. Some of the awareness has to happen on a very personal level, a one-to-one sort of level. But just as an aside, I had a water problem out in front of our house, and we've got swastikas on the house, on the front of the house, but it's subtle. And they had to dig up the sidewalk, and when they replaced it, they had a tarp on it and some sawhorses to keep people from stepping in it. And I went out and put a little swastika in the wet cement, but I put it within a heart to kind of soften the impact. And the tarp was left there for, a few weeks. And when I went out to, when they took it away, I went out to view the result. And one of the city workers had filled the spaces in, so it looks like a little window pane. So they know about who lived in this house and his mission, but they, as a city worker, I think the guy heading that little piece of work was afraid to invite controversy. So yeah, it's going to take a long time to dispel the resistance, but it's moving. It's moving. My husband was involved with a group of young people, but they're tattoo artists, and they are plastered with swastikas, and are very much in favor of a Reclaim the Swastika movement. The only detractor there is that they aren't mainstream individuals. They're artists, they're tattoo artists. They give out free tattoos on Man-Woman's Death Day, November the 13th. They'll give anybody, there's about 300 of them worldwide, who will offer a free tattoo on that particular day if it has a swastika in it. And so they are still promoting this movement as well. And, it may not sit so well with, one of the earlier presenters said, we need to look within as well as without, and have dignity and not be aggressive. And unfortunately, young people that are heavily tattooed, and even man-woman, he's dealt with that all of his life. People do find that kind of an aggressive blast when they first see it. So I think it's been said that the young people have to be involved, and that's absolutely for sure. And it's a twisted path to come to a place of dignity, non-confrontation, and still hold your ground. That's work for all of us to do, I think.
Thank you very much, and really appreciate the presentation. And we hope to, continue partnering with you on our campaigns and initiatives, because I think, as you mentioned, groups need to come together, and mainstream groups need to come together, and that's one of the reasons why we're having this conference today.
Yes.
So thank you again, and swasti to you.
Thank you.
Tejalji, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Dr. Astarte. Now I welcome to play a video, Manji, which will teach us about Japanese swastika.
Dr. Nakagaki, you want me to play that, or are you playing that?
Oh, I thought you were going to play
I'm going to play it. Okay, so yeah.
Yes, sorry. Thank you. And it is also a conversation between a lot of Jewish people and also the Japanese part. This intention was started, this video will be intent to bring it in, finish like a 2020. There's an Olympic game supposed to be in Tokyo. So at that time I thought we have a good idea to bring it a lot of understanding, because Japan has so many swastika, so that's why, like a map and everything. So that's why when the people come, they should be able to understand. That was one of the first intention, but of course the coronavirus got all those stuff. But so some of the parts that I believe there will be some things about what do you call it? The mention about Olympic game in this video.
So ready?
Yes, thank you. My name is Toshikazu Kenjitsu Nakagaki, so people call me TK as a initial part. And I myself was born in Japan, in Osaka, and I came to the United States in 1985. So actually I lived here about 35 years in this country, United States. Right now, it seems like in terms of swastika or the Hakenkreuz, we just need a little more information available so that people can read and see. 一応じゃあここにあるその曼字っていうのは基本的には仏教のシンボルっていうような形で考えてもう全然問題はないっていう形。
Pretty shocked to see it here, to be honest with you. I didn't expect it to be in a temple of all places, or a shrine. I think just because it has such a negative connotation.
140年ぐらい前に、関東地域の かなり広範囲の地図を作りました。その時に地図記号を定めております。その最初の時から曼字の記号をお寺に使ってございます。
アメリカ人は何をもって自分をアメリカ人として見るか、日本人は何をもって日本人として見るかってところに考えるときに、日本人で結局まだ悲しいところ血なんですよね。でもアメリカ人って結局例えば朝とかに旗に忠誠を誓うとかそういうのあるんですよね。だから旗が持つ意味って多分シンボルが持つ意味多分かなり日本人とは違う感覚を持ってるから。
もう3000万人の外国の旅行者が日本に来ていただいてますし、オリンピックに向けておそらく数はどんどん増えていくと思います。で、だんだんこの曼字の記号って何なのって思う方は 増えてくるんだと思うんですね。でその時にこういう背景がある、こういう歴史的な背景があるということを、やはりきちんと理解をしてもらうというのは大事だと思いますが。
Symbols require us to be careful. Hate crimes here in the city have increased immeasurably in the last couple of years, and now the swastika is being painted in all kinds of places. So I think it's important, particularly for Buddhists and perhaps more generally for many Asians, to understand what a provocative and negative symbol it is when used as part of white supremacy, white nationalism, anti-Semitism.
It was used as a trademark, or at least a supplementary mark for many products, because in history it represented good fortune, good luck, the four seasons, any number of more deeply symbolic and or spiritual things.
But to try and convince people who still are bearing the scars of that use of swastika, because whether Hitler called it that or not, if the last thing the person you love most in the world experienced was a person wearing that symbol, blowing their brains out, what they called it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. To them, it doesn't matter. And that, no, there's no maybe. That's the problem here. If in the end, historical reconstruction
まんじゅうを通してじゃあもう少しそこにダイアログが生まれていく、だから対話が生まれていくっていうのが一番私としては大切なことで、その平和っていうのを私はずっと考えてきてるから、平和のシンボルということはやっぱりどういうふうに相手を理解するか、お互いを理解していくかっていうのがすごく大切になってくると思うんで、だからそのシンボルをね、蘇らせることっていうのはある意味で人類の歴史をちゃんと蘇らさせてもらうことにもなるし、ヘイトクライムもどうやってできてるかもよくわかると思うんですよね。
Okay, that was wonderful.
Thank you. It's yeah.
Moving on to some more speakers for this conference. Now I invite VHPA President Dr. Ajay Shahji. Ajay Shahji started as a Karyakarta of Akhil Bharatiya Vidyarthi Parishad in Mumbai. He has been Karyakarta for World Hindu Council of America, VHPA, since 1984, and currently serving as the president of the organization. He co-founded Hindu Student Council and HinduNet. He is also a founder and a convener of VHPA initiative, American Hindus Against Defamation and Hindu Pact. He has been the editor of Hindu Vishwa. He serves on the board of trustees of Hindu University of America. Dr. Ajay Shah is also an adjunct professor at Amrita University. Welcome, Dr. Ajay ji.
Thank you and namaste. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak here. I have only a couple of minutes, so I'll make it as fast as I can. Speakers before me have been very eloquent in propounding the meaning and the importance of swastika in our dharmic traditions. As a Jain and a Hindu, swastika is the center of my personal community and my Dhammabhumi Bharat's life for like over 7,000 years. But it's not just our Dhammabhumi Bharat. In lands far away, whether it's North, South America, Southeast Asia, from Africa, North and South America, and even ancient Europe, swastika has been considered a sacred symbol. So our estimate is that over 1.8 billion people, as in B, today consider swastika to be sacred. Just 2 days ago, I don't know how many people saw this news item, that a Hidden Valley camp, which has been going on for over 100 years, was shut down because some of the camp counselors saw the swastika symbol over there. And all of them protested, they quit, all the employees quit, and 900 campers who came to the camp for social and environment consciousness were left without a camp to go to. Okay, all because that camp, somebody had donated a swastika symbol, and these people just considered it to be hate symbol, and the camp counselors quit. Just a few years ago in Canada, in Halifax neighborhood, people filed police complaints because somebody has swastika hanging on their doors. One of our own workers and office bearers had someone from Home Depot come and do some work, and that person just stopped working when they saw swastika in a home temple and reported to Home Depot that this is a home of a hater. But all is not that gloomy. Just a year ago or so, or 2 years ago rather, a town named Swastika, New York, actually stood by and kept its name because the people in the town understood that swastika signified a sacredness and good auspiciousness, good vibes and good auspicious vibes. So how do we deal with this? I believe that we need really multi-pronged approach. We need to educate our own community and the youth and tell them that do not shy away from swastika. And today's conference is a great beginning in that. So I thank the organizers of this, and especially for Nikunj for taking a lead on this, and Gokul Kunnath. Thank you very much. And it's not just swastika that is under attack. Even Holi is under attack, and attack against Diwali are beginning to emerge. So swastika is a gateway to bullying of all the dharmic kids. And we have to understand a larger movement. And the larger movement here is to deprive all the dharmic traditions of their dharmic identity. So we need to bring dharmic, the second part of the approach is to bring the dharmic community together. And that's what we are doing here today. The third is to work closely with the Jewish community and dispel any of the fears that they may have. We as VHPA, or World Hindu Council of America, worked with the Jewish community in Washington, D.C., with the AJC, and created a brochure that explains what sacred swastika means to Hindus. And the fourth and the final one is take a strong public stand. Just a couple of years ago, a Netflix series called The Boys removed the references to Al-Qaeda when they were referring to terrorists. But they retained swastika as the symbol of that hate group that was portrayed in that show. Okay. For our part, as VHPA, we are fully committed to reclaiming swastika's rightful place. Our initiative, Hindu Mandir Executives Conference, with over 500 participating mandirs, have through the years engaged mandirs and priests, and now we are going to work with them to bring awareness about the importance of swastika in American public life. Our initiative, American Hindus Against Defamation, is fighting the defamation of swastika in public forum. Our partnership initiative called Hindu Dvesha, or a counter to the Hindu hatred initiative, is a partnership between us and Hindu University of America. And we are creating academic awareness, literature and awareness literature, and also doing historic research on swastika. And finally, our Hindu Policy Research and Advocacy Collective, or Hindu Pact, is taking a lead in legislative outreach wherever we see legislations come up against swastika. Finally, today I want to tell you that we are committed to working closely with you. We are determined to reclaim swastika's rightful place. We will not let swastika be appropriated by those who promote hate against Nazis yesterday, and those who seek to appropriate, and we make sure that it cannot be appropriated by those who hate Hindus and dharmic tradition followers today. That is our pledge, and that is our mission. And with that, thank you very much for the opportunity and giving me an opportunity for letting me speak here today. So thank you and namaste.
Thank you, Ajay Bhai. Now I welcome revered Dr. T.K. Nagagaki to speak on the very same subject. Dr. T.K. Nagagaki is a Buddhist priest ordained in 750 years old Jodo Shishu tradition of Japanese Buddhism. He is a president and a founder of Heiwa Peace and Reconciliation Foundation of New York. He also is a president of Emirates of Buddhist Council of New York, a Hiroshima Peace Ambassador, Nagasaki Peace Correspondent, and an honorary board member of Interfaith Center of New York, and honorary president of Sanghakaya Foundation, that is from India, and New York City Police Department, Calgary Clergy Liaison. He is the author of Buddhist Swastika and Hitler's Cross, Rescuing a Symbol of Peace from Force of Hate, which was Stone Bridge Press 2018. An important resource for all of us to learn about the history and the significance of swastika. Welcome, Dr. T.K. Nagagaki. Swasti.
Swasti. Thank you very much for kind introduction. And also wonderful speakers. I really appreciate all of the people who are able to join us today. I really wanted to, have more time to each of the presentation has to be deepened. But then first of all, we need to have a little more introduction parts. And then today is one of those introduction, but yet we have a lot of, wonderful contents coming with it. So I'm very excited. Very happy, very grateful actually to hear all of presentation today. And so myself, one of the reasons that I'm here is, of course, I wrote the book, and then let me share the things that I have here. So, because, okay, sorry. I'm going to do the PowerPoint, if you can see me okay. Oops. Is that still there? Are you able to see?
Yeah, we can see it. Yeah, now we can see it.
Okay, because yeah, it seems like everything else disappeared from my computer. I don't know where it went, but anyway. Oh, was it?
Continue, please.
Is this okay?
No, it's back. No, it's back. The previous one was better.
Oh, previous one is better. Okay, sorry. I guess I need a little patience to wait to everything changes.
Back. This is good. Just wait. This is good now.
Okay, great. So basically, I try to explain on a Hakenkreuz part, especially the point itself. We're going to talk about this afternoon will be swastika is the proclamation. So at that time, we're talking about swastika is basically different from the Hakenkreuz, and it has to be distinguished. So that's the point. So I know some of the speakers mentioned already, but at the same time, maybe I try not to mention double so many times, but at least cover some of the important points that we need to know. And then first of all, this is a book that I wrote, and it's actually published 2018, but actually this book was almost done 2012, and then in Japanese version it was published 2013. What does that mean is that this book is so controversial. No publisher wanted to publish this one, and this is actually a result of the New York Theological Seminary doctor of ministry program that I was in. So this is a dissertation. Based upon dissertation, I make it to the book. So why I choose this topic is also very important for me, because one time I participated in an interfaith center gathering, and so talking about hate crime actually. So one of the hate crime presenter, from the ADL, said that swastika is a universal symbol of evil. What do you mean by universal symbol of evil? I mean, you can, a lot of time the people in the West, there's a Western, part, it's considered as a hate symbols and so forth, but you can't say universal. And I ask him the questions. Why do you say universal symbol? We're here, Buddhists here, Jains here, the Hindus here, Native Americans here. Why can you say that? And then this expert of the hate crime from the ADL, he didn't know anything about the other tradition. So that's why after that particular things happened, we just gather and then start talking about. And then this happened to be the year before that I entered the New York Theological Seminary. So that's how these things develop. And so in the end, of course, it become a book. Make the long story short. So, but then it's very important for me to, it's if that particular speaker said, oh, in the East, these are the things that consider, then maybe I didn't even write the book, actually. And so, you never know what things happen to your life. And then so this is not really my first priority before, but now it's really like a first priority for me. And then so I'm deciding to spend, couple of decades, so like next 20-30 years, because I already spent 10 years, because that was 10 years ago that I started, and the research itself is 2010. Then I just continue to do the various things. One of my problems is I can't see my watch. Sorry, just 1 second. Okay. So, and then based upon the particular book that I show now, we have the film making, and then so that this is called, that's the one that you saw, but it was the Manji documentary film. So that's a part of it, and this particular one is, as I said, that's for the Olympic game, but at the same time based upon my book. And then we're supposed to go to even Europe actually, but because of the coronavirus we couldn't go, but then at least many parts are there, so we just decide to finish it up. And so right now the Manji Film Festival is going on. I mean, not the Manji Film Festival, that would be a nice title, but anyway, film festival is, the producer, they're applying to those what do you call it, the festival. And so film festival is in right now too. So that so it's right now in a Toronto thing, you can watch actually if you like. But then the things that I just wanted to include here was some of the things. This is the United States, a little before 1900, so hundreds, or after Sriman's founding, and then so many of the swastika is part of the in this country. That's why it's a good symbol. So it was introduced as a good symbol here too. So the picture that you see, I mean, these are L, consist of 4 L, so light, life, love, and luck. So those are very good symbol, like all those scouts, and this one was already shown, and these two. And this is the Buddhist church, the Buddhist Churches of America, Japanese organization. We used to use the swastika every conference and many times. So these are a map before. These things, by the way, for me was, I didn't know much of the swastika. As I start researching, that I found out so many places of a swastika exist. And so these are mapped before, I mean, 1800s. So anyway, that's a Wilson book called Swastika. And then so again, of course, here's the image that we have now, and that's so sometimes the people consider the swastika or actually hooked cross or equal to Hitler. And then these are some of the sentences that people use many times. Oh, I was going to do the other. Oops, sorry. But anyway, this is one of the main part of the Mein Kampf. And but then as the previous speaker, the Swami mentioned about translation problem, because normally here I put it in a hooked cross, but then if you translate, so this particular part, I don't know why so like this, right? So this is a translation that we have now. So the Hakenkreuz part is translated as swastika actually all the time. So you can see the German language here, and then the English translation. And so that has been the problematic part. And so as I show, this Hakenkreuz shouldn't be taking the word swastika. That's the fundamental things that, first of all, language is very important for me. How you say makes a big difference. So that's the one part. And there is a different translation, that exists from after Hitler, wrote those books. And then this is most commonly used, Ralph Mannheim translation. That's very common one. So everybody quote this one, so that's why whoever talking about the swastika, they always read this translation. And as if Hitler is the one who used the word swastika, that people treat it. But that's not really the true. He always used the words Hakenkreuz, not swastika. So that fundamental part should be sort of recognized. But then this is the original earliest one is the 1933. Sometimes there's a different the words in the England one and then the American one, but Edgar Dugdale. So he actually used the words hooked cross to translate. So let's see I'm sorry, this was, I was going to say the conclusion later, but anyway. So how do you know, right? So, the order got so messed up for some reason. But anyway, so this is, for instance, the translation that you see is that's a German parts. And then the, Mannheim translation, again, this is the different section though. So he used the word swastika here, thickness of swastika here. But then the Dugdale translation is, he used actually the hooked cross. And then interesting part is that when you repeat the Hakenkreuz, he used cross. So it is actually the cross. The anti-Semitism is actually connected to the cross really directly. And so that's the one thing that we should also realize. And then most of the people don't know even this fact. And so, anyway, that's, I don't know, time is running, so maybe I would just skip some of the parts. But then so the translation, the words, everything, those are very, very important to pay attention to. And especially the one that I just wanted to start talking about. Oops, you cannot go back. Okay. I don't know why I can't move, but just the one thing that I wanted to say, this one, before I forget, because this is, I think for me, it's very important now, because the shape is the same, like a sugar and salt, it looks the same, basically, both are white powders and, there's just like, you can't tell the difference unless you taste it. Taste means inside, right? So taste is totally different. Salt and pepper, you don't want it to mix up with maybe a lot of people drink the coffee in the morning. You put the salt and salt instead of sugar, you have a lot of trouble. But so same way, the sugar and salt or swastika and the Hakenkreuz shouldn't be mixed, because these are looks the same but very, very different nature, everything. So that's the one point. So one suggestion is, of course, make sure there's a 2 entry. One of the reasons for me is a different approach from the Western people is because in Japan we do have 2 words, meaning sugar means swastika is a sugar, maybe most sweeter. So the manji is a word that's the title of the movie, right? So manji is a word that we commonly use in Japan for swastika. Good swastika or sacred swastika. And then when it comes to the words Hakenkreuz in Japanese, more like the pronunciation Hakenkreuz is actually Hakenkreuz. So which is a hooked cross. So there are clearly two different words. So that's why we never mixed with one side or the others. So, but here the problem is we only have one word called swastika, and then they include both, and then that itself is a wrong to begin with. So that's why the language should be changed. Then we can make a distinction between sugar and salt. So that's, I think, one of the way that we should make sure that we understand that point. So that was the points that I'd like to share for this part, especially, and so that we can easily go to the next portion of it. And but then also important to know, like even Hitler mentioned about this symbol in Japan. I mean, so because sometimes people don't know whether did he really know the symbol of Japan or symbol of India, or does he really steal it in one way? But there is a quote. I mean, he actually spoke at the very first speech on when the flag, the emblem used. So there is a quotation here. I just make it to the, although this is translated as a swastika, of course, but then the original one is a Hakenkreuz. So for me, I thought it was easier to make it this way. So, but he used the words everything for swastika, the sun symbol, cross light, and then this cross is a Hakenkreuz and Kreuz. So the Japan, India, right? So it's all used as a word Hakenkreuz. So definitely he doesn't like, or even we don't know whether he knew the word swastika. Like the opposite way, the present situation right now in America, right now only swastika is a language, right? Maybe for the Hitler, maybe Hakenkreuz is the only language he knows. Maybe, I don't know. These are some of the questions that we can have. But definitely he knew what the swastika or the Hakenkreuz was used for. And then so, but then that's why he really adapted or utilized those symbols. So some of the things are facts that I'd like to say. I mean, this is I'm going to finish it. So, and then also education part is one thing I just wanted to mention, the Hindu Jewish conference that some people mentioned a little bit, but these are exactly the words that they said. But of course, there are some things different, because swastika at that time when they're talking about, they don't have any distinction between swastika and then the Hakenkreuz. So they just use the word swastika, but that's our V they use, I mean, instead of W. But maybe sometimes people wanted to make a difference between swastika or swastika. So, but anyway, so these are some of the statement. But then the things what happened is after this statement is done, but then we never have any educational process happening. So hopefully, I finished my book finally, and then after 10 years, at least the book is finished, and at least there's movies here, and we can get together for all of us. And so that's very good. I mean, moving forward, I believe anything, whatever is happening, in my mind, this is very much moving fast to actually moving pretty well. Because, but then one thing is, I think it takes time to change their mind, especially, the understanding, the brain is one thing, but then how you understand physically, the feeling itself is very difficult. So, but then it can be done, right? So it takes more time. We don't have to rush it. Oh, we have to change next year. I mean, maybe some American people feeling that way, but then my project for myself feel like next 10 years, is so we can relax, but then we can do best that we can one by one. But if we move fast, and then at that time maybe you can just ride on too, of course. There's a rhythm, so it doesn't have to be slow. But then if the rhythm is going, the nice wave comes, then we should ride on a wave. But then if it doesn't, then we should keep steady, and then but steadily we can develop the spread education, all the dialogues and so forth that we have. And so I think that's enough, right? Sorry, I couldn't watch the time, so.
Yep, that's fine. You're
Okay,
good to go.
great.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
Thank you, Doctor. Now I hand over to Nikunj Bhai, who is the founder and the full force of Kohana, bringing all of us together to talk on this very important topic, working tirelessly with sleepless nights and tireless days. Welcome, Nikunj Bhai, to talk on the recent bills on hate crimes.
Thank you. And I sincerely want to thank all the speakers to join today and on this wonderful conference and the occasion of having dharmic and indigenous folks working together to ensure that our sacred symbol is disconnected and distinguished from Hitler's symbol of hate, which is the Hakenkreuz, and promoting mutual respect and understanding. What I would like to do in the next few minutes is to kind of talk about some of the recent bills that have been proposed and some of the background and history about where this issue of Hakenkreuz and swastika came from. As Dr. Nakagaki has already talked about the translation, I will not go into that, but I will focus on some of the other aspects. Let me share my screen. So as some of you may know, California has been recently evaluating a bill called AB 2282, which will have the word swastika in there as a symbol of hate. After some negotiations, there have been some changes where the bill has now changed the wording from swastika to Nazi swastika. However, as Kona and many other Hindu, Buddhist, and Jain organizations, we still find this problematic and why this wrongfully impacts these communities. So my presentation will cover some of that aspect and other aspects of the swastika versus Hakenkreuz. A lot of people are confused about the bill, so I wanted to kind of put out this is the version that has been amended. As you can see, while the version was amended, it still has the word swastika in the title as a symbol of terror. So you can see hate crimes, nooses, crosses, and swastikas, swastika being used in the context of terror. So the idea here is while it changes the word swastika to the Nazi swastika in the next few, in the body of the bill, as you can see
Sorry,
here.
Nikunji.
Yes.
Are you doing the slideshow?
Yes. Is it not coming?
No, it's not showing up.
Okay, hold on a second. Let me try again. Please let me know if this is, can you see it now?
It's coming up. Just hold on.
Yeah, it's taking a little while.
On Zoom, it's, yeah, okay. We are on
Okay,
slide
great.
2. Yeah.
All right, hopefully no technical issues. So as I was saying, the bill itself contains words like swastika and links swastika to symbols of terror. After some negotiations, there were some amendments. However, it still uses the word Nazi swastika, as I have highlighted in yellow. The problem with that is that it actually distinguishes between something called a good swastika and a bad swastika by continuing the use of the word Nazi swastika and linking it to the ancient swastika, as they say it. So it incorrectly refers to the symbol of the Nazi party as the Nazi swastika. So this is the first issue that we face. So what are we really looking at this, right? While the intention is good to combat hate and intolerance and create an inclusive and mutually respectful society, we stand with our Jewish and African-American communities and other vulnerable communities who have been subject to this hate and bigotry throughout the years. But again, the idea is there's no such thing as a good swastika and a bad swastika, and the current bill in a legal terms actually defines that. So that is false and unacceptable and something we cannot really go with. It continues to perpetuate the idea that swastika is still connected to hatred. And that's something that we have to be careful about. And it doesn't remove the hateful association. In fact, it adds, in the amended version, it actually added the words Nazi swastika, that was the official emblem of the Nazi party. So again, the concern is California is a big state. Whatever happens in California can have an impact on many different states and cities in the US and around the world. And so we want to be very, very mindful of while the intention of the bill is good, the language needs to be changed. We cannot tolerate something that says Nazi swastika because you're associating swastika with something that is hateful. We would like that clarification further. So what are we really asking for? A few things. We have been very consistent and clear for the past 2 years since the New York State issue that erupted in June of 2020. We've been very clear with everybody we speak with that we don't want the words Nazi swastika in the bill. Instead, replace that with Nazi emblem or Nazi hateful symbol. If the word swastika is to be used, it should only be used when it comes to the sacred symbol for Hindus, Buddhists, and Jains, as well as, of course, Native Americans. If the bill must refer to the old penal code, there was some explanation that was saying, okay, well, the old penal code says Nazi swastika. If the bill has to refer to that, then it should add those words. But if it has to add those words, then it has to clarify that this is incorrectly or falsely known as Nazi swastika. So the amended bill, unfortunately, like I said, inserts the words, and I quote, "That was the official emblem of the Nazi party," to clarify the reference to Nazi swastika. So naturally, it can clarify things even further by adding just 3 words, right? Incorrectly or falsely known as swastika. Just those words, incorrectly or falsely known, will further clarify. This is a very simple demand that our groups are asking from the California legislators. That's something that they can do. Context, again, matters, as Dr. Nakagaki was talking about sugar versus salt. Context does matter, and the choice of words can have a significant impact on different communities and their religious rights. Did Hitler ever use the word swastika? Again, Dr. Nakagaki already talked about this. Swastika is not a German word. Only word that has been used by Hitler or the Nazi party has been Hakenkreuz. Swastika is only used for the ones that have been speaking Sanskrit, or the religions that have come from the Indian subcontinent, Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism. It's really the Hakenkreuz that has brought death and destruction, and not really the sacred swastika. There are many different words in the German language that use the word Haken or Kreuz or cross, which I will show in a bit. And therefore, there is no such thing as Nazi swastika. There is, however, such a thing as a Nazi hooked cross, as you can see in some of the pictures on the right side, but also as Dr. Nakagaki had mentioned about it. There's also research that talks about how Hitler actually referred to this idea of the Aryan Christ and Christianity to repeatedly arouse Germany, which is a devout Christian country. So why would a foreign symbol be used by someone local to arouse local sentiments? Here are some words that are in the German language that refer to this idea of Kreuz. Christenkreuz, which is Christian cross, Hakenkreuz, hooked cross, Ritter Kreuz, Knight's cross, Balkenkreuz, beam cross, Wilkenkreuz, angled cross, Krummkreuz, crooked cross. Where is swastika? It doesn't exist. On the right side, you can see Ritter Kreuz, which is a symbol that was created by Hitler. It's the highest award in the military and paramilitary forces in Nazi Germany during World War II. You can clearly see a cross and a hooked cross together. So you can clearly see the connection between the cross and the Hakenkreuz. So it's very important for people to distinguish those two. 100 years ago, media also did the same references, where you had the first article that talks about Hitler's rise in the New York Times refers to Hitler's movement as the Hakenkreuz movement and his followers as Hakenkreuzlers. You can see that on the red. So now, if they're called Hakenkreuzlers and Hakenkreuz movement, where does swastika come in? Similarly, in 1925, the Jewish Bulletin Index clearly refers, even though it's talking about different things around swastika, but it clearly refers to Hitler's people as Hakenkreuzlers. Okay, they are harassing women, they're molesting Jews, they're causing riots, all these things, but every time the reference is Hakenkreuzlers. This is a 1925 Jewish Daily Bulletin Index. Nazi propaganda newspaper called the Hakenkreuz Banner also refers to the same thing. It doesn't say the swastika banner, it talks about the Hakenkreuz banner. This is the Nazi newspaper of Mannheim from 1931 to 1945. So again, shows the fact that the word that was being used to describe Hitler's symbol of hate was Hakenkreuz. Gerhard Hahn, which is he's a prominent Lutheran church minister in Hanover, in Germany, actually talked about the solidarity between the Hakenkreuz and the Christian cross, where he says the cross of Christ and the Hakenkreuz do not need to oppose each other and must not do so, but rather they can and should stand together. One should not dominate the other, but rather each should remain its own meaning and significance. Both together, however, the cross of the Christ and the Hakenkreuz admonish us. Remember that you are German Christian people and should become ever more whole German Christian people and remain so. His book, again, attempted to reconcile the idea of Nazism and Christianity. So you can clearly see the references to the cross across different literature and propaganda material. Then what happened? In 1933, the first time a major newspaper called the New York Times decides to somehow accidentally or intentionally, however you call it, switch over to the word swastika. Here's an article, March 19, 1933, talks about hook, cross, and old symbol. So it's using the word hook, cross, but now all of a sudden it switches into swastika. And this is one of the first times that a major media outlet carries the misnomer or the mistranslation swastika. And this becomes the defining moment where the world starts to finally use the word swastika and not the hooked cross or the Hakenkreuz. So what is the impact of such misinformation? There are many. As Dr. Ajay Shah had mentioned earlier, the camp in the Bay Area suddenly shut down because of this Buddhist symbol that was already in one of the old buildings there from 1910 or so, okay, where the staff basically said that you guys are supporting Nazis and hate symbols, etc. In New Jersey, where I am from, there are two issues that happen where mistaken identity of the swastika was considered a Nazi symbol, where in a Hindu's home. Similarly, a gas station owner had a swastika good luck sign where he had to explain people what is a Nazi symbol doing. So this again was mistakenly taken to be a Nazi symbol, and that's why it's so important for us to distinguish the two. But more importantly, you see the impact on Hindu students who have simply said that, hey, you know, this is our swastika. Here's a student from Brandeis University who was bullied and accused of anti-Semitism after saying that, you know, the swastika should be included in school curriculum and should be taught as a symbol of goodwill and not a symbol of hate. In fact, she was bullied by, unfortunately, a Jewish organization who mistakenly thought that she was promoting Nazism. So she was forced and traumatized at the university, and she was forced to apologize for her statement. So this is the type of stuff that our community and many other communities face because of the misinformation that is out there. And this is why legislators need to be very careful in ensuring that while you're condemning hate, it doesn't accidentally trigger hate against other communities. Final thoughts. You can see symbols of hate on the left and symbols of peace on the right. Nobody will ask to ban the sacred cross just because it sits on a church. But then why would you ask to ban a sacred symbol that is so important for close to 2 billion people around the world? If California can distinguish between the sacred Christian cross and the hateful burning cross, why can't it distinguish properly between the swastika and the Hakenkreuz? We are launching a website for this particular initiative called understandingswastika.org, which will contain information, comprehensive information about the swastika. So you can go to understandingswastika.org as well as some of the information that is out there. You can also get in touch with us at these links and follow us for more information on the swastika and the campaign and the initiative that we have started. Thank you. Namaste and swasti. So this will end our morning session and our conference. I want to thank everybody for joining together.